Дорогие друзья, добрый день. Поближе, да? Значит, хочу сразу сказать, что всем, пожалуйста, уважаемые спикеры, говорите в микрофоны поближе, учитывая слышимость.
Another
Добрый день.
reminder
Мы
to
начинаем
the
круглый
speakers
стол
to speak into the mics.
объединения корпоративных
Now
юристов.
we are starting our
Тема нашего разговора
roundtable.
сегодня – правовой департамент, цифровой
The
век.
subject of our roundtable is an effective legal department as a product of innovation-driven policies.
Темы, которые поднимает объединение корпоративных.
Today's discussion will focus around the topical issues raised by the professional community of corporate lawyers under the overarching theme of business and legal leadership. We're going to talk about things like handling new technologies, using new technologies to better place the legal department within the corporate structure. We will examine the factors influencing the new leadership of the legal department. We also will cast votes as we go along. Our request to you is to voice your opinion and participate in the polling procedure. We'll have two questions, and I will ask two questions, these two questions to be addressed by every speaker in their presentation. So, the questions are: what will be the function of a legal department? Supportive or supervisory? Political or auxiliary? Please share your vision on the role of a legal department in a corporation. The second question: what is the main reason for using advanced technologies and innovations in any legal department? Is it cost-cutting or efficiency growth? Improving professionalism or saving on costs and expenses? So please share your opinion on that. We will announce the polling procedure and we will ask you to push an appropriate button. Now I'm happy to give the floor to Igor Manyanin. Yes, by the way, a general request of the speaker, please don't exceed the time limit. We need a discussion. We need a tango. So Igor Majdanik. Until recently, Igor was the head of legal department in Rosneft, a major in Russian oil industry. Now he is the member of the board of Corporate Lawyers Association. Igor, you have the floor. Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to address the professional community on the issue which is extremely important. Today's IT technologies, cyber technologies are changing very fast, trapping us in a cycle of everlasting gap. I remember times when we had huge suitcases that we carried along, but those were top of the line technologies of the time. Now look at our gadgets right now. They're tiny and elegant. Speaking to lawyers, one can come to a conclusion that there is a pronounced trend among the legal professionals. Legal professionals don't want to provide personal services, they don't want to sit in offices, they want to be at home in the comfort of their cabinet and process their corporate affairs. I will be speaking about corporate practices. I have spent my career in corporations. Being a corporate professional lawyer, I am more than anyone aware of the need to introduce IT technologies, cyber technologies. Answering your question whether a legal department must be supportive or a leading unit, I think it must be a leader. It must pave the way, a trailblazer. Long ago, when I started my career in smaller corporations, legal professionals, lawyers were the people in the front lines. They were very valued. Corporations relied heavily on them to protect their assets, to improve their market positions. All of this enormous frontline hung on the capacity and goodwill of a corporate lawyer. Now, of course, there's also other stakeholders, but lawyers are extremely important. Even a personal opinion or personal drive of the leader of a legal unit counts. Therefore, I am absolutely sure and convinced that legal office or legal department can and must be a leader and can be a generator of efficiency. To start with the T&K, let's see what instruments, technical instruments were applied in the T&K and what was the result. The light lights and the low lights. Now this is a slide giving you an idea of the automatization of some functions. First that we did is create databases, registries and search engines. Rosneft is now close to finalizing its comprehensive IT support unit, including engines, including arbitration, including legislative support, including databases and whatever you need. This slide gives you an idea to the lead up to this project. What were the factors that pushed us towards our decision to automate a number of functions? Well, one driving force was the relevance of information. Complicated, large-scale corporations always generate information flows, huge information flows, and one can work only with fresh, new information. You don't work with old information. Now, to approach this issue, one must first examine what is the expected result of digitization of your functional activity, the work of the legal department. So the benefit, the first benefit that lies on the surface is relevance of information and permanent informational update. Please speak into the microphone and speak up, please. So it's relevance and informational update. It is very essential to have relevant information when dealing with complicated issues, working with economic agents, delivering on dispute resolution. Information is key in dispute resolution. Databases of federal laws and regulations. It is a unique product, and TNK was a pioneer in establishing its own corporate database in the climate of huge pressure from the bureaucratic authorities in terms of inspections, in terms of information requests. So we had to act in advance. So we had to anticipate actions of public organizations. To do that, you would need a good database of effective regulation. Once you have effective regulation and you know it, you can parry or deflect hostile inspections from Rostechnadzor, from environmental authorities and others. As soon as we established the space, all other major corporations followed suit. This instrument alone allowed us to decrease the number of unfavorable decisions by an order of magnitude. Another database of relevant court decisions and precedents. The entire process of creating a claim, submitting a claim, is pretty much information-driven. We want to cover the entire procedure with our information resources. TNK had a good 100 plus subsidiaries and affiliations. We had to have a perfect idea of the current status of any litigation. This allowed us to be on top of things, on top of any situations. This type of databases were immediately copy-pasted by other large corporations. It's beneficial in every sense of the word. It is also a good instrument to establish a bona fide partner, to establish its court history, litigation history. This is the portal of our database of judicial precedents. This slide gives you an idea of the algorithm of our engagement with the public authorities. Another advantage offered by this kind of database is that once an infraction or violation has been established, the public authority concerned would impose sanctions. Sanctions could be very severe, including the injunction on your business activity, which would effectively spell a death sentence.
Отслеживать исполнение. Но тем не менее, когда эта картинка существует в автоматизированном виде, то собственно говоря, никакого варианта, как исполнить предписание, не остается. Это доступно, эта информация как...
In order to be on top of the situation and to implement a decision or a determination by a public authority, you have to know it. And the database is just about the only way to get access to this determination in time. This is how it looks like. This is an idea of a form to be entered into the database. All of this is a sheer routine. There's nothing special or very difficult about this. Now this slide gives you an idea of the highlights and the inefficiencies of this automated process. What is key? What is the most challenging thing in automatization of legal process in your corporation? First of all, it's the separation and identification of the parameters of legal process, of the legal effort. IT personnel are pretty much capable of doing anything, provided that you give them a good idea of what you want. So IT personnel would have to be trained and worked with in order to properly realize your vision.
Самое главное, что все эти вещи потом, это инвестиционное решение, все эти вещи должны быть юристами защищены.
Investment decision should be protected by lawyers at the investment committee. This is not altogether straightforward process. It's rather complex. Hence the second question. What's in it for us, for lawyers, those digital technologies, financial and substantially? We made several attempts of having this uniform system of information because we have different systems, but they are sort of detached from each other. But that's also very important, how we do it and what investments we make. So, as a result of non-providing with the claims, so the company omitted statute of limitations and ends up losing huge money because the statute of limitation has expired and they didn't bring forward the claim before. And we've given those companies the examples how much they lose financially due to the absence of automation of the process of keeping track of disputes in court, claims work, statutes of limitations. Decisions sometimes are made by businesses themselves, not by the lawyers when to set forward a claim, and motives could be different. Could be somebody's unscrupulousness, lack of good faith, or something evolves between them and the counterparty. Now the process is fully transparent, and any referral of the claim should be well described and well grounded for. It's crystal clear that those processes mean more costs, and if we do it in a cost-efficient way, that way we right-size the costs. I hope I convince you that this automation is absolutely indispensable. Are there any questions? Thank you very much, Igor. Questions? Are there any questions yet? A practical clarification. Is there such a service which, let's say, when we have to find exact information about and so we'll get all the information about validations, inspections, legal acts. Yes, it's a very good panel because we may be brimming with very interesting ideas. My colleagues from Rosneft are also sitting beside me. That's the right question. We don't have such a resource when all this information will pop up about personnel numbers. We do it via jar now, although this information is open source yet, but we have to streamline and systematize it. Internally, we have got the internal system of counterparty identification. That way we could trace all the background of our history of relations with counterparty. I would like to recap on it. Such a service is there, but it's not about those validations, but about profit and loss statement, balance sheet, financial statement. There are several services which are online now. So if you're doing the due diligence on counterpart, such services are there. It's possible to connect and automate them also when you work on the agreements. Pavel Volkov. Igor, you mentioned that presently the referral of claims should be well grounded for. It's envisaged that initially all the preliminary information on potential claims or disputable situations is embedded into this system. Well, previously, that was the domain of business to do it on its own discretion, but here we would like to do it from the very start because that's part of the process of discharging the obligations. The agreement has been signed, but it goes on living. It's outstanding agreement, so there should be a database to keep track of the execution of those obligations, and this flows smoothly into the block of claims. And when something evolves with a counterpart, a decision is made to set forward the claim. But this decision should be well grounded. No more questions yet. Great. Igor, thank you very much indeed. So I summarize, you consider the function and the role of the legal department is such that it should bring in lots of money and to impact drastically companies' capitalization. I wouldn't say it should, it may impact companies' capitalization. Great. Tatiana Debashan. I pass the microphone to Tatiana Debashan, Director on Legal Issues and Compliance of Heineken Brewery. Dear colleagues, I am from Heineken Brewery in Russia, and I would like to tell you about practical programs, about practical solutions we have implemented in Heineken in order to enhance efficiency of the legal department. As a result of this work, I can say that at the initial stage we had 38 lawyers. After we've taken on board this new solution and we made a decision on automation, we've got only 7 lawyers currently. Apart from that, such automation and work optimization is very expedient when we provide remote services to factories not having a central office. First of all, that way we cut the number of lawyers, enhance the efficiency of their work, and secondly, it's all about centralization. First of all, I'll show you a film about how those decisions are functional in our company. In the film, I'm going to show you, number one, we have got the information on this. It's Law Academy. This is the database on distance business trainings. We create e-tools within it. It's training software programs on profile legislation. For marketing department, we created a movie, for example, to how they are supposed to comply with advertising legislation when they advertise beer, the main requirements. Apart from that, in the legal academy, we have got info database for each department with templates of agreements with useful information. On top of that, we have a closed-in club for personnel department. Why closed-in? Because we deploy court judgments for our personnel. This information is available. For others, it's not. It's close user group, so any employee is entitled to get into this database and be trained. On top of that, we can designate a specific type of training as a personal development plan for this or that employee. That's what we do. Another one is the real estate database. We've deployed all our real estate objects, their description, all the titles and documents on that. We plan to make interactive map. You'll be able to identify this or that property object on the map. This database is available for all our employees internally. I'll show it to you as well. Third database is the database of processing decision on sales and power of attorneys. It has got standard templates embedded. An employee enters the system, selects the power of attorney they need, introduces his or her own passport, personal data, introduces that order to the system. We validate the legal part, and then power of attorney is submitted to his boss, who says, yes, I agree or I disagree. Those documents are never lost, and lawyers don't have to move frantically around physically. The third one is the uniform legal base. All the law courts of Heineken company in Russia are located there. So the employee submits us the application on that database, downloads all the primary source documents on that, and then we decide whether we're going to bring an action to the court or there are no grounds for that. This claim is not actionable. Then this employee of ours will keep track of all the stages of the court procedure. All the documents would be there. So this is a comprehensive picture of judicial or court activities of Heineken in Russia, all the court disputes and all that. Next one, database is a legal portal. Many of you might have here. It's also a processing decision for remote contract scrutinizing and validation. Employees from different regions submit application to that legal portal together with an agreement downloaded. We receive this agreement, we scrutinize it. We can see when they downloaded the agreement, when we've validated it, what's the final version, which comments we provided for. Because oftentimes we had this, there were situations when we were blamed like we procrastinate scrutinizing the agreement or we lost it. And here in the system you can see absolutely everything. Who's responsible? That's remote validation of the agreements. Last database is the Constitution, is the database of domestic legal acts. Typically, they are kept on the shelves in the companies or in the computers, so it's a bit of a mess. And this database is geared towards uniting all the internal legal acts of the company, provisions, circulars, policies in one and the same place whereby any employee could get access to, and we can assign the different legal acts to different employees for them to get familiarized with them. And third function is getting all the compliances within this database of the new normative act. We are not going around seeking bosses' signatures. This saves time for us when it's online. Now I'm going to show you a video trailer. No, my dear colleagues, first of all, you can see all those processing decisions here. When, let's say, an employee at the workstation pushes the button, and that's legal human that's Heineken can, and top he gets into this entrance. That's the uniform entrance for all the processing decisions. I made this film myself, especially for this forum. Eight factories in Russia. Our brands. We are going to make lawyers working more efficiently. That's Law Academy. That's the way it looks like in the system. Info base for different departments. Training courses. Colleagues, apart from decisions on the automation, I've been meaning to tell you about other things we use in our work as Heineken company. First, as I've mentioned, it's automation. It's those programs and softwares in order to reduce the time lawyers use for standard actions and other. We standardize everything which can be standardized. Agreements, claims, court claims, even responses to counterparts, power of attorneys. So it's standard products, automated decisions. It's much less time intensive. The principle of this work is the work with unconventional products, non-standard ones. Secondly, it's the visualization when we find the right language with our internal client, because sometimes our internal clients, managers, don't even understand. They haven't got the slightest clue what we're talking about. They say it's bird language to them. Business requirement is such that we should speak in simpler language, because lawyers' language is too highbrow for them. And we should find simpler words to explain those things. We should make conclusions first and then to provide them with the grounds for that, because oftentimes businesses don't need those substantiations, norms, names of the laws. They need our conclusions, and then we might explain further if they have time for that. Next principle of our work is partnership with businesses. We perceive it as the idea that businesses should live one and the same life. I mean, lawyers are specialized. Each lawyer is assigned to a profile department. They participate in all the projects of this department. They participate in the meetings of the department and provides consultancy based on that legislation, and even holds and follows up the projects of this department. KYC principle. Training. This is one of the principles of optimization and streamlining of lawyers' activity, because we encounter the situation that up to 60% of our time was spent for consulting on very simple issues, which don't even need top-notch lawyers to be involved in that. So it's much easier for us to train businesses to those basics. It does take to be a rocket scientist to understand that. So we have a model of training the businesses online, offline ones like E2, that's Legal Academy, and others, in order to remove the upswing of those absolutely unnecessary questions bugging on our time. Another, to provide businesses with ready-made solutions and be ready to provide businesses with those solutions which suit them. We're not providing just a consultancy or advice whether it's in line with legislation or not. Businesses don't need that. They should know what's to be done.
They need recommendations. Businesses need outcomes, decisions. They don't need justifications and the kind. So this is key. This is a key principle underpinning our activities. We do not concentrate on a product. We generate our own products so that businesses can use off the shelf. This slide gives you an entire list of our principles: automatization, standardization, training, educating. A few more words about the efficiency triangle. This triad, speed, quality, and the costs of any service offered, all of these things come in together to characterize the position and the performance of the legal department. If you are slow in doing things but very thorough, nobody needs such a department. If you speed up things but lose quality, again, no result. So you have to be fit on all three fronts. Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you very much. Let's give her a good round of applause. Tell me in a couple of, why are you in this? What's your purpose? What's your message? Are you telling us that you're fond of cutting costs and offering effective solutions? Is this your hobby or is this your life motivation? I hate to do routine work. I want to be creative. Any routine is a matter to be standardized and digitalized. I want to be creative. I want to invent new things. I want to add value. I think these are things that are at a premium in any corporation. Another question. What function is a priority? I think it's always a combination of supervisory function, oversight, knowing your limits, knowing restrictions, and knowing the ways and means out. Thank you, Tatiana, again. Another piece of interesting information about educating technologies. Liana. Since time is pressing, may I give you an idea of the initial results of our exercise, of your participation last year? Today we have engaged 60 companies. I think the result is very representative. My congratulations. In terms of internal efficiencies, 70% reported that they hedge their bets by modern technologies. Training of lawyers. 80% of respondents confirmed having special training programs for their corporate lawyers. Only 1 to 7% have any budget for training. I think this is very revealing. Partnership. Partnering with business. Who do you feel you are to a corporation? Are you an agent of support? Are you a driver? Are you a flagship department? We addressed this question to corporate lawyers, corporate leadership. The participants of our questionnaire responded saying that heads of legal departments in 30% of cases were on the corporate board. It is not much, but still this is a fact. So CLOs usually are important persons in a corporation. Costs. 50% said that they do not have plans to reduce legal budgets in 2015. 15% are planning to increase their legal budgets, saying that we live in new realities, in a new economic landscape with sanctions, individual and corporate and industrial. Only 2% are planning reducing their staff, legal staff. So otherwise the situation pretty stable for corporate lawyership. Over 50% said that they have strategic plans to develop their legal departments. 80% of leaders, corporate leaders, said that they are happy with the performance of their CLOs and their legal departments. That's all I had to tell you. On June 25, we will hold a briefing on the result of this benchmarking questionnaire exercise. All are welcome. Thank you, Yana. Now I give the floor to James. James is a manager of knowledge. He will share his experience about managing knowledge. Managing knowledge is a big thing in any corporation. All right, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Just before I begin, I would like to take a moment just to set the scene around PMI. So, at Philip Morris International, we have a law department with more than 350 members based in 45 countries around the world. We work in an environment where our business asks more of us all the time, and essentially we're having to provide services in an environment where we're being asked to do more, frequently with less resources. And finally, as you can imagine, in an industry like ours, our business environment is getting increasingly complex, and the law department plays a crucial role in dealing with that complexity. So let me take you back 5 years to when I first came to PMI and what I found when I arrived. My boss, a bit like everyone else, wondered what this strange role was, and my first task was to look around the internet and familiarize myself with the law department. What I found was technology that appeared to be out of date, I didn't really know who did what. The information that was there seemed out of date. I couldn't share it. I couldn't even share a link with anyone. So it was clear we needed to invest in new technology, and like many companies, Philip Morris has invested in SharePoint as our primary sharing platform. We then started to build our communities of practice and our sharing areas. So we developed a knowledge base called Law for Law. In there we have a number of sections around the subject matter areas that our lawyers work on. Those lawyers in the OC, our operations center in Lausanne, and the lawyers in the markets who are general and have to deal with all matters at all times. These subject matter experts review the documents, update documents together, but we realized that it's not just enough to have one person. We developed communities of practice who work together to produce material that can be shared. As I said, it was surprising when I arrived to find just a website with documents. So we added onto that a blog functionality where we ask our lawyers to provide context and share their implementation experience of those materials and how they've helped them and how they're to be used. If I should take it further, in an environment where we're surrounded by information all of the time, we also take an approach similar to marketing. We have very short sessions, a bit like this, where a lawyer will present a best practice, a template, an action that's going on in the center in 10 minutes without slides. The concept of these sessions, as we call them click and chat, is we set the scene and then we ask the lawyers around the world to discuss this. This is recorded and stored in our knowledge base, and again, something shared on our blogging environment to let somebody know what's happened. If you missed the event, you can go back and catch up. And of course, for a new employee, I can look and see what's happened, and I get the sense of the story of the PMI law department. Now, obviously, developing and sharing best practices and reusable templates plays a large role in effectiveness. So I'm going to touch on effectiveness now. Working in partnership with our procurement teams and our finance teams, we've developed online risk assessment tools. It was often quite unappealing for our colleagues, our business colleagues, to be presented with lists of documents. They didn't seem to want to go there. So we put in place a system through asking questions and our colleagues answering them. They simply answer the questions, and as you go through those answers, we provide legal advice and ultimately share a template if you're able to continue without any legal advice, and our risk assessment has allowed that. But also, if you do need to contact the law department, we build it in a different way. So previously, people might have contacted us by email, attaching documents, emails with attachments circling around the company. Caused a huge inefficiency. These documents need to be tracked, put back together again. People aren't 100% sure what they have and when they had it. So we've implemented workflows. So if I'm a business colleague from finance, marketing and sales, anywhere else, I find in my work area a button that invites me to upload documents for review. Oh, can you all hear me? Louder. So once I've uploaded a document for review, it automatically routes that to the correct lawyer. That lawyer online collaborates with their business colleague, updates the documents as per their discussions. But also the back and forward, what would have been an email is automatically captured. By working in this way, we're creating a knowledge base, not just for the law department, but also for our business colleague. They can go back, these documents have been codified, they can search them, they can reuse them if they have another project, a similar project. But in the law department, we can also go back in time and read the legal advice that has been previously given. We can understand what decisions have been made, when they were made, and who made them. So this is starting to close the common loop. If I look and analyze the questions that have been sent to me, the reviews that I've done, if I start to see a pattern of typical legal advice being shared over and over again, then we must go back to our risk assessment tool and add additional questions or different segments to that, or additional documents, to reduce that low value work coming into the law department. So the law department can then focus on that strategic interaction that we have to have with our business colleagues. Now, when I come on to talk about strategic interaction, this is where we talk about upskilling our law department. at Philip Morris International, we've looked outside of the traditional sphere of legal training. We've looked to psychology, we've looked to social economics. We've asked people from outside to come and train us on how we can make effective decisions using different tools from different disciplines. Well, obviously, we've done face-to-face training, and we have had conferences similar to this where we've had it presented. But again, we must make sure that we have equal access to information. That information is done by creating videos of these external presenters. These videos are then created into small episodes that people can sit and watch. We have online resources there. Wiki sites have been created so we can develop an ongoing dialogue around the information. And as well, we have communities of practice which match up to those new skills. So perhaps I'm a new employee and I have a question about game theory or hypothesis testing. I can go to an online social environment. I can read other people's stories about how they've used these tools and the impact they've had on the decisions that they've led with the business. But I can also ask questions and make unexpected interactions with other people around the organization. So if I just sum up, we've talked about effectiveness, we've talked about communication and community building, we've looked at learning and approaches to learning. But in summary, if we are wanting to create this effective, efficient legal organization that partners with our business at the right time, there are 3 pillars we always must consider. We have to have the correct technology. That should be 10% of our time. We have to have the right processes in place that everybody understands what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it. Let's say that takes 20% of our time. The remaining 70% is all about people, and by people, that is the most important part. Everyone must understand, engage, use these tools, use the work product. It's all well and good to put processes and technology in place, but if people don't understand it and have not bought into it, then the event is at the end. So that's my final point. I pass it over to you to questions.
Just thank you very much. James, спасибо большое. Я как раз
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed.
задать вопрос.
I have a question to Alessia. Please give her the mic.
Управляет знаниями.
Jeff is managing knowledge in Philip Morris International in the head office of the company. Now you have heard his vision about the role of the legal department, its function and ideas. Now you are the head of the legal department of Philip Morris Russia. Oh, right. How would you comment the issues raised and discussed just now? What is your vision of a corporate legal department? Do you see it changing its function from traditional to something new? Do you see a change in leadership configuration? How any particular legal department will find its role and place in a given industry? Because it's pretty much thematically driven. What about innovations? Do you see a purpose in innovations? They're not there just for fun. Now, you've just heard the figures, 80% support innovative processes. What is the purpose of innovation? Cutting costs? Making life happier? I don't know. What's the purpose of innovations? To train people? To invent yet new things? Alisa, please. Now, of course, your questions are all very interesting and important. Every CLO of any major corporation permanently is challenged with these questions. I've been working in this company for quite a while. Over my career, the vision of legal departments in the corporations have evolved very much. I remember times when we used to perceive ourselves as just as generators of a certain number of services, advice, opinion. Now, of course, this is the ways of the past. This was creating a gap between business front lines and the rear, which we were.
We reconsidered lawyers' role. We try to position ourselves now as partners for business, as the function which is there to give a helping hand to businesses in decision making. All those instruments mentioned by James now, and likewise the attempt to master new knowledge which transcends mere legal sphere, like system thinking, scenario planning. It's all those instruments which should be there for us lawyers to be able to speak the language common to businesses, as Tatiana said. Tatiana, many of the things you've mentioned is also the case for us. We have been going through the same efforts to resolve all those challenges. To summarize, I can say that currently lawyers' role, legal department, in-house legal department role is to help businesses to make right decisions. So you are speaking about implementation of all those innovations. What is the main reason for those innovations? What are we doing this for? Alexander, let me once again to recap on what I already finished with. Renovation for efficiency, efficiency for efficient and effective business solutions and decisions. Thank you very much. I would like to ask each one of you if you have any comment whatsoever. Please do come up with those remarks. We do it to enhance the labor productivity. Labor productivity. Yes, it's clear-cut answer. To enhance labor productivity. Sometimes that means that we'll have to lay off the extra employees. Yes. Doesn't sound very optimistic. Yes, I know that it brings about severance of some of the people. Out of 38 lawyers, now you have got only 7 most efficient stay. Others are laid off. Thank you, James and Alessia. We saw great synergetic effect in what you've said. Vladislav Koloskov, Vladislav, tell us in what way it's Sberbank Russia you have been taking on board all those innovations. Why are you doing that? And following your presentation, maybe you will have a vote. Please speak louder into the microphone. First question. I think we have been discussing that issue because as far as I remember, it was about support or control. And I would like to ask in-house lawyers, my colleagues, who has got the absolute veto right in decision-making, if it would be possible to vote for that, because it's common knowledge that we're managing legal risks, but the situation evolves in such a way that in this process, businesses become very important. Businesses who would absorb this risk, thus our work would be in evaluation and description of the consequences. Then whether we should say no, no way, or businesses would say, I'm not going to hear any of that, I absorb this risk, I take a decision. Yes, I understood your question. So whether lawyers can have a veto right for a decision. Lawyers are partners to businesses now, but there are no requirements of no times. If you ask question in this way, yes, lawyers first of all are partners to businesses. They're business partners. I would like to ask my colleague's opinion about veto rights against the backdrop of legal risk management. Do businesses absorb this risk, or should they listen to what lawyers say, or will finish it up and then we'll vote? Michael, say a few words.
That's a very lawyerly answer. I apologize, but it depends. I think there are some risks that can be quantified into financial terms, and then those can be a business decision. If the business is properly advised of the financial risk, they can make that decision. I think, at least at our company, there are some risks where you talk about perhaps if it's something that involves breaking the law, that's where the legal department would have a veto, because you can't put a financial like price on violating the law. There's reputational harm, things like this. So for us, it sort of depends. Legal has a veto on a small universe of things where it's a violation of law, but otherwise it's a financial decision.
Ну, то есть, давай.
Ну, Александр, здесь тогда можно было бы...
Well, when we're speaking about potential revocal of a license or making directors legally liable, nobody would absorb such risks, of course. But when it's about financial evaluation, which could be potential fines if you implement this or that product, what would tip the scale? Economic revenues and benefits from this implementation, or the lawyer's opinion that those fines would jeopardize companies' reputation and goodwill. Let me tell about one instance. Only once in my lifetime I had the right to veto. I did have that right. You know what kind of right it was? I was entitled to impose a veto on the publication or issuance and publication of the local bylaw and regulatory document, because their number was such huge that I might say that it's not expedient to create and publish more normative documents. Yes, actually this is rather difficult, but you were supposed to implement this veto right even if the document was describing the process which you were not dealing with. Yes, even if in-house lawyers were not the authors of this document. So the document describing business process, yet we could say no. We, unfortunately, you know, in any company whatsoever, a moment in time comes when all the local in-house normative and regulatory documents are living on their own accord. But we lawyers were holders of that process. Otherwise, everything could be created into KPI. Sometimes they include it into KPI, but the local normative document might exist and they don't know it. So I could exercise this right of veto if that process was already there and it was mimicking of functions and mimicking of the documents, internal documents. This is a standalone issue, I think. This is also very interesting because Rosnano was increasing the number of those in-house documents. Anyone from within could come up with another local document. It was such a backlog of internal documents. Ruslan, have you got anything to say about the right of veto? What's your take on that? Is the legal department entitled to impose a veto, and in which cases? Yes, of course, it's possible to impose a veto, but we have been trying not to use this right of veto. There are two instances. It's everything which is related to the risks of legal liability, inclusive of a cartel, and everything which is related to potential situation when a license could be revoked. Both instances are prescribed in your internal documents. This is our internal policies. Okay. Lad, this is quite interesting discussion. Have you got anything else to say? Yes, in a nutshell, about efficiency of interactions of our team, because our team is scattered around Russia nationwide. I was jealous of Tatiana and her film. I'm hopeful that there was a happy end in your movie. Yes, you look so serious. You have got almost poker faces. I would like to tell you about one case in the law. Maybe in your practice some such stories can happen as well. It's known information which is in public domain, so I could mention the names. In this case, we had to bring a suit against the borrower whose name was Mikhail Vasilievich Lomonosov, let's say. But at the moment, when it came to making court judgment, it turned out that Mr. Lomonosov turned into Gerard Depardieu, or Xavier Marcelevich. And on this basis, he disagreed with our bank's requirements. He said that he changed the name for Depardieu and he couldn't file the credit card for Lomonosov because in that time his name was Vladimir Putin. So it turned out that our distinguished borrower, he was an individual, he received the credit card and he arranged a loan on one name. Then he changed his name several times. He was Dmitry Medvedev, Vladimir Putin. After which he was Mr. Christoforov, then Mr. Nemudrum. After Mr. Demudrum, he changed his name to Gerard Depardieu, so we had to seek this payment from that. It's a real story, but it was so funny because he genuinely believed that if he changes the name, he is relieved from the right to pay back on the loan. That was a real case. Now, a few core instruments which are very expedient for us when we outreach regions, business representatives, and by the same token our colleagues lawyers from around the country. First of all, we collect the information about customer satisfaction. So we use two instruments. We have the so-called voice of internal client. It's overall banking procedure when we evaluate the services provided by all the bank's departments, and we're also evaluated. And such an evaluation is done twice yearly with obvious objective and goal to pinpoint the problems and to do the troubleshooting and to remediate, to revamp the situation. Each bank employee who is using this service could make different criteria evaluation, the speedy services, how speedy they are, and to what extent the lawyer who was communicating with them was polite, for example. Apart from that, internally we have been using our own software, BPM, business process management, legal implications, and we introduced the system of the assessment of satisfaction with legal services, service by service. When we're in the service, our internal client from the bank should give us points about the amount of their satisfaction by the service. If the customer is not satisfied enough, he is obliged to provide us with a comment which will be helpful for us. So we can collect this information via the system from all our departments all across Russia. And so we can then divide it into different departments, different units in the legal department. Let's see, in the bank we implement this service-based approach. That's why I've been meaning to tell you about the controls and to seek your opinion. Of course, we are perceived as advanced customer-oriented business partners. We're supposed to render services now in compliance with some regulations and normatives of productivity. We sign SLA. We know the efficiency indicators and KPIs we have to observe with. For that purpose, in our software also, we embedded into it a uniform, it's like a one-stop shop for any referrals to lawyers. In this one-stop shop, in this window, there is a set of services wherein the client selects them, and then after that we do also the follow-up for the service wherein the PPM system controls KPIs and efficiency benchmarks, and you see the entire process split into elements, and for each part we can have different KPIs. For each benchmark we can peg it to time. If our internal client would like us to bring the claim not later than 3 days after the full package of documents was collected, then we do that. We should comply with the deadlines identified by the client. Informational technologies, likewise, as all other companies, is one of the most potent tools to enhance efficiency. I underscore this. Efficiency is the keyword. The efficiency and efficacy of rendering the services. What did we take on board? It's a unified database on all the legal determinations, opinions, court cases. Lawyers and their heads of legal departments can keep track of all the stages of cases in court, and there are determinations and judges and opinions about different issues and in relation to clients. So it's possible to do the sampling out of this database if lawyers, in-house lawyers, need dealing with some determination. System is very helpful in putting together standard model documents. These are our in-house documents helpful for court procedures. We have been trying to introduce standard model forms of determinations on those model issues. That way we'll save a lot of time. This is very elementary system with dropping window, with dropping list. The speaker corrects himself. We try to describe all the legal risks inherent for this or that type of business we consult, and these legal risks have got a priori evaluation, about the consequences they might bring about. That speeds up and simplifies our work. Then important principle we have been trying to take on board currently, and that might have a strong repercussion upon a big number of lawyers we have around Russia altogether, more than 2,000 altogether. Size commensurable to largest international companies. 2,000 lawyers working in Sberbank Russia, way more than that, Tatiana. So now you have got about 5,000 those lawyers across the country. No, more than 2,000 lawyers in Sberbank Russia. But there will be some growth of that number due to the fact that there are lots of NPLs. Of course, we do not hire such a number of transaction lawyers and methodologists working with specific deals. All this army of lawyers is just working on court cases. It's about NPLs and past dues. Yes, that's interesting. That's our discussion about legal profession. We're not going to conduct this discussion. But this is also interesting. in Sberbank, those lawyers who are engaged in collecting the NPLs, those who are selling the collateral, they have good professional legal education, they are from legal background. Are they lawyers? Are they considered to be lawyers if they participate in such activity? Now I'm part of Ministry of Justice Commission on Legal Aid. It's all about our lawyers, the bars, whether we should also do this jointly, or some things jointly with the Bar Association, and who are lawyers and who might we call a lawyer, if you know what I'm talking about. There are lots of people without legal education. Like previously there were barristers. Yes, but this lawyer, for me, there are lots of question marks yet. You see, there are 2,000 lawyers. They are considered to be lawyers, although some of them are not, maybe not lawyers by education. They are lawyers by education, and by its essence, they represent interests of the bank in the court. Of course, as to preparation of model documents, templates of the documents, it's different. Like in the situation with a standard claim showing the amount of indebtedness and the name of the debtor, legal experts examination is not needed here, you know. But in order to protect to defend the interests of your employer, your company in court, of course, there should be a professional lawyer. You should be a lawyer to protect employers' interests. Although it's might be highly judgmental too. There are different opinions about it as well. Maybe you don't have to be a lawyer to prepare all those documents. Maybe that might call up another discussion. Maybe we'll have it in the next year, or maybe year after. It will be too late to bring this up. I don't know. Maybe my presentation will also be much belated, at least by time, on the agenda.
Now let us give a good round of applause to Vlad. Thank you, Vlad, very much. And now to the polling exercise. Mike, are you ready? Michael. Don't worry, Ruslan. It's never too late. I thought we were working till 2:30. So, the polling looks like this. A legal department must be full-scale partner in business activities. It must contribute to building a business, to adding value, and things like that. Now I want to know what is the position of a legal department in your corporation. Is it a leader or is it a supportive unit? Does it have the power of veto? So A or B? Supportive, governing, controlling. So either or. No nuances. No shades of gray. So A or B. Press just one button. It's easy. Come on, guys. It's so easy. It's either A or B. Oh, boy, what a surprise. Supportive function outweighs controlling function. I didn't expect that. It's because the lawyers don't see themselves as controlling agents. There are specialized units to control and oversee stuff. There's back office, there's oversight office. That's why everybody voted against being a controlling agent. Oleg Dmitriev, Goznak. Now there are big size businesses and smaller businesses. In larger companies, CLO can afford to deal with the legal issues. It doesn't have to worry about, supplies, whatever. In smaller companies, and their number is larger. A CLO is a universal officer of a corporation, and he or she must be versatile. No, they don't have the authority of a veto. A CLO is an expert, can advise, and he can control things only by being an advisor. And he supervises, he doesn't even supervise, he screens the process for possible mistakes. I think this is a very realistic vision. One more stroke to this picture. Businesses hate controlling and oversight. Everything must be to a measure. Excessive oversight is a drag on business. Once it's over-controlled, it's overseen, it's a dying body.
Наверное, надо было бы сразу начать с определения слова, что есть контроль.
Now we should have begun with giving a definition of what is being in control. If we mean control as a drag on business, nobody wants to be a drag to business activities. So the whole setup is wrong. Now, if we mean by controlling anticipation of risks, looking ahead, this is something else.
Как поставить правильно заглавные буквы, расположить абзацы и так далее. Мы его проверяем в первую очередь на
screening business activities for possible negative consequences, for possible risks. We are risk avoiders. We are risk mitigators. We're not just drafting legalistic texts. We're people from the front lines. We're sitting in courts. So to an extent, our position and our activism depends on how far in taking risks a corporation would go. So looking at the legal department as a risk-controlling agent, that's another story. We should have set the definitions right from the beginning. All right, although I'm a bit disappointed with the result, the issue stands open. Definitions is always, you start with. All right, well, anyway, it will be a good opportunity to resume this discussion at a later stage. Vladislav, again, thank you. Michael.
General Electric, Россия, СНГ,
General Electric, CIS.
Можно мы потом проголосуем по второму вопросу после Майкла? Презентацию Майкла.
Good. No, it's okay. It was a surprise to me whether this was going to be in English or Russian, so. good. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's good. So thank you, Alexandra, for the invitation to speak at this panel and attend this event. So what I wanted to do was try to provide a little overview. We're obviously also a very large company, 300,000 employees, more than 1,000 lawyers in 150 or 160 countries around the world. So we do see a lot of things as well. And so I wanted to provide maybe an overview of some industry trends we're seeing in this area, and then some of the experiences we've had adopting technology for our legal department. So this is just sort of the things I'm going to cover, but it doesn't seem to be working. Ah, there we go. Okay, so this is We've done some benchmarking internally in our company. We've also worked with some external organizations that focus on adopting legal technology and technology in legal departments. And some of the things we're seeing here are kind of fascinating. It's not a surprise to anybody sitting up here, or most of you in the audience, but the theme of continuous change in legal departments in in-house companies is something we're not going to get away from in the near future. And what we've seen in particular is that legal departments are being asked to serve a business function as well as the traditional legal role, and that means providing risk-based advice, helping make intelligent financial decisions, and also being responsible for costs. So all of these things are relatively new in terms of things that functions the legal departments have been asked to perform. What we've seen, it's been noted up on the panel here as well as in questions, legal departments and lawyers in particular are typically risk averse. So as you can imagine, they're also among the last to adopt new technology. What we've seen in particular is people immediately go to the very easy thing to measure, which is costs, and they focus on cutting costs first. And later, only after they've cut costs, do they focus on ways to improve productivity and efficiency, because those are much harder to measure. And so what you see this now in most US corporate law departments, they've implemented cost-saving metrics, cost-saving measures like electronic billing, and we'll talk about that in a second. But they're not quite there yet on improving efficiencies and outcomes in terms of how you apply technology to do that. And part of that in the second bullet point is the issue of how do you measure in terms of KPIs. It's easy to measure cost savings, but how do you measure the risk that you avoided? How do you measure the lawsuit that didn't happen? And this is one of the most challenging things for lawyers because our job is primarily risk management. It's very difficult to measure the problem that was avoided. So this, I think, is a challenge for legal departments going forward. And as technology evolves, there'll be ways, hopefully, to be able to do that. Finally, just the last bullet is about the growing importance of legal technology. You started to see it in areas like, obviously, electronic billing and electronic record keeping. But in the litigation sphere, you see it in electronic discovery. This is very big. When I started practicing law about 17 years ago, you'd walk down the hallways of a law firm and there would be litigation boxes stacked floor to ceiling all the way down the hallway. And you almost never see that anymore. Part of that's because a lot of these records have now been made electronic. You have electronic discovery. I'm a former mergers and acquisitions lawyer, and what you see in M&A now is data rooms are being made available online. All of the documents are made available to be viewed but not downloaded, so people can review them without traveling across the world. So you have these tremendous cost savings that are passed along to the company because your outside law firm is able to operate more efficiently and avoid expensive travel costs and large teams of people. One of the other interesting things, though, is what that has enabled, and one of the trends we started seeing when I was in our corporate headquarters a few years ago, there was a large push to outsource some types of legal work. So in particular, document review for mergers and acquisitions, transactions, there was a big push to outsource this to firms in India, for example, because all of this, in India, yeah. So because all of these documents are now available online, they could be sent to anywhere in the world and reviewed at a much cheaper cost than it would cost to have a lawyer in New York City review. So this was a big push. It has downsides, as you can imagine. There are difficulties in coordination, there's difficulties in accountability, but I think there's no question that whatever technology will enable us to replace, it will replace eventually. And so we're starting to see that, again, we've used some of these outsourced firms for some tasks, others, you know, it's more challenging. 3 or 4 years ago, I saw a fascinating software, a demonstration by a company, a small startup company in the US, and they were working on a software program that would actually review documents for certain types of clauses, key terms, phrases, and it would scan thousands and thousands of pages of documents almost instantaneously. And they could then pull up a due diligence report and flag every document that had certain terms. So if you were looking for change of control or some other provision, you could immediately have a list of every document in the data room that had that type of clause. It's not quite to the point where you're going to replace people, but it's going to cut down on the number of people you need to do this work. And then finally, just the issue of mobile technology. This is I think we're just at the beginning end of mobile technology, and the availability of data 24/7 anywhere in the world securely, that's going to revolutionize every industry, including the legal industry. So this is actually some benchmark data we got from one of our partners, and this sort of following the conversation I was just describing here, you see that one of the first places, 98% of in-house legal departments have implemented some kind of legal billing system, some kind of cost management system. So as I said, the cost management side, it's low-hanging fruit, it's very easy to implement, and the results are seen very quickly. What you are starting to see though, and if you look to the second figure 2, where do these statistics get reported to? They get reported always to the general counsel, but increasingly they're getting reported higher up. So as business is asking lawyers to take a more business type approach to their field, more and more CFOs, CEOs are getting access to these these sort of metrics as well. So you're seeing some of this data reported up to higher levels. One of the reasons, if you look in figure 3, one of the reasons people do not implement more technology, frankly, is the issue of how do you measure things beyond costs, and that's the topic I mentioned before. Once people figure out how to properly measure things, they will find a way to measure them, and then they will implement technology to do that. And then the last graph you see, just e-billing systems are quite clearly implemented across the board. So just very quickly, what our company uses, we use a system called Time Metrics, and this is an integrated system. We did a search worldwide for vendors that provide this kind of software, and we're now in the process of implementing it everywhere we work. And what you see is it's both for measuring legal spending, so you can track, for example, how much you've spent on a particular matter, but it's also, you can track how the money is spent by task. So you can see how much money is spent on document review, how much on document preparation, how much on due diligence, right? So it gives you very granular data that allows you from every phase, from budgeting all the way, getting a budget at the beginning of the process, all the way to analyzing where the money was spent on a project at the end. You have a whole bunch of different information. I'll show you on the next slide. I've blurred this out to protect the innocent, but what you see here is there are a lot of different ways you can slice the data. You've got different metrics for, this is how old your invoices are, for example, how aged they are, for example, a high-level summary of where the money is being spent, and then you can sort it and adjust it any which way you want. You also, that's for a particular deal, for example, or a particular matter. But you can also work on a more sort of macro level. You can see by practice group how much money is being spent in your M&A group, how much money is being spent in your intellectual property group. So you can look at legal spend across different metrics, across different geographies. You can see by United States, Canada, China. So it's a fascinating way to break this down worldwide. So that's the sort of easy thing about cost metrics, but let's talk really quickly about productivity enhancement. So we do a lot with compliance in our company, and one of the things we've developed internally and with some providers is this compliance dashboard, and what it gives you in one picture is sort of a worldwide snapshot. You can do by business, by region, by company. You can break it down and see 64 different metrics are reported. It's available mobile, it's available worldwide, so our compliance officers can look at this. They can be, if they're traveling to a region, they're able to pull up the data they need. It implements both cost-saving side and a productivity side, so it's really quite a new tool, but it's we think it's quite state of the art. One other area that we've looked at, and this is just something we're exploring. We haven't implemented anything quite like this, but document generation. There are certain types of documents that are standard. They're quite ordinary, they're routine, they require some legal review, but the initial drafts are often prepared quite easily by document generation software. And what we found is you can implement savings of about 65–70% in terms of preparation of these documents if you automate some of the early processes. Obviously, things still have to go to legal review, but it cuts down the amount of time and cost that's involved in that. Here in Russia, we've implemented a system of contract management for our sourcing contracts, for example, where I'm able to see how much time is being spent by which attorneys on my team to review sourcing contracts. So I can see who's spending the most time, what the reasons are, how many revisions are being made to contracts. So I get a whole breakdown of metrics so I can see where the time and money is being spent, which is incredibly helpful. Let me just talk about two more things very quickly. One is a system we're implementing globally. Seems to be having problems with the... okay. This is sort of a document... let's try again. This is a document platform we've just recently implemented. It allows you to access certain documents, not everything, that someday when security issues and everything else are perfected, I think maybe you can expand it. But for now, certain documents are able to be shared and available to colleagues worldwide. So you can access it from any computer, any mobile device. It's basically shared file systems, but they're now being implemented for mobile. And this is, again, where mobile technology really is going to change the way we work fundamentally in the next 10 years, because being able to access corporate databases anywhere in the world securely would be a huge step change in the way legal teams work. It also allows you to collaborate with colleagues around the world in real time. So it's a pretty great system we've implemented, and we're just getting used to it now. And then finally, I would just add, we have internally, obviously, we have an internal website, which I'm trying to show you, but there it is. We have an internal website which has document repositories, best practices, forms and samples, and we use that worldwide, again, available to the entire legal team. And then we also have something that's called Colab. It's sort of, I think of it a little bit like a corporate social network, but it's a real-time interactive tool that lets you ask colleagues or other members of the legal department, either individuals or globally, specific questions, ask for feedback, and it's done in real time. And it's also available mobily. So these are some of the things we've started to implement to improve efficiency.
Thank you very much. Майкл. Конечно, вопрос к Майклу.
Questions to Michael. Now my question is as follows. Now I was pretty surprised to hear that this tool was effective for M&A transactions. What about security? M&A transactions are pretty secretive, huh? They're done behind closed doors, at private meetings, with restricted access. Are you sure you are able to keep intact this regime of confidentiality?
That's a good question. Security in almost all legal matters is paramount, and this is not a solution we provide, but there are third parties that provide virtual data rooms. They are state-of-the-art security. They have limited access to certain people. You can't download documents. You can only view them online. You can't print documents. In theory, anything on the internet is potentially vulnerable, but as far as I'm aware, they've been pretty successful. They use the highest strength encryption and also end-to-end encryption, as well as restricted access lists. So far, so good. And again, these are for corporate documents and things like that, contracts. Less so, I think, for actual transaction agreements. So this would be like due diligence documents in a data room for review.
интереснейшую презентацию. Я сейчас хочу передать слово Руслану.
Well, this is extremely important. I am giving the floor to Ruslan. Should we have time left, we will make another voting. Ruslan, please. Now, I have moved over there to have the view of the screen, but I don't see it even from here. Give me the controls and the microphone. All right. Never mind. Distinguished delegates, participants. Well, by and large, things that we've heard in this room, all of that takes place in our medium. We're not leaders in computerization or digitalization, but whenever we need to do something, we can always call on our colleagues and partners. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to our colleagues from Sberbank. We have tried to learn their experience in managing databases.
Because we need our own practice database, not just a general practice. Our own practice is so vast and mindful of the scatter of our divisions around the country and different processes in different regions. And also mindful of the relationships with administrative agencies. We came to a conclusion that we need our own database, and which is even better, our competitors' database. This enables us to improve the labor productivity and KPIs. In absence of this database, there are some guys, our guys, sitting there in one of the offices consulting their colleagues, and they should be well versed in all of those, mindful of the specificity of our sector and everything. Sometimes certain things happen like they've never happened before. So we do need such a database and a centralized database. It's even louder in the adjacent hall. So if anyone needs doing something like that in your own place, if we might be of help, turn to us. We're quite open and we're willing to pass on our experience. We don't have to wait for another year to come to this conference a year after. Turn to us, we'll help you. So I wouldn't like to dwell on what has been mentioned here before me today. So I would like instead to highlight on the fact that it's my 5th time in the forum. There are lots of people who keep coming to this legal forum. We speak about the evolution and the role of the legal system and house legal system and so on. And today I can present you with the outcomes of this evolution, if I may put it that way. It's about the feedback, which I'll show by this example. Our sentiments we shared with you in the previous years, they really come true not on our initiative, but on the initiative of the management. Those of you who were in Akur meeting with Constitutional Court at Astoria Hotel, you might remember that for a while I spoke about professional reputation and the management of goodwill of professional reputation and management of professional reputation via creating expectations among the managers. And so our offers to this management should be in line with what they expect from us. In our company, from within, we work on our reputation. Managers have got very high expectations from us. which makes us working even harder and being cost efficient about our functions as well, and time efficient. What do we get as the result? We all are fully aware that we should have our KPIs. We all have those KPIs. Although it evokes twofold feelings in me when we mention those KPIs, because we're all aware that our work is content-based, so no matter how you set up this KPI, you won't be able to measure those KPIs. We have this understanding in our company as well, and from this perspective, we divide the evaluation of legal function. Yes, KPIs are still there. That's the evaluation of professional competences and of the performance of the division. But mindful of what we said before this and today, that we try to become business partners. So it's more challenging for us. We should live up to business expectations. What's required from us as lawyers, not just professional competences, it goes without saying. It's just when it comes to this unit, we have got, this is called the legal function management. I've got other people under me here at this stage. They require from us some managerial skills as well. Lawyers always had problems with that. You are either a good lawyer or a good manager. The trend now is that it's not enough to be a good lawyer. You should also be a good manager in order to be retained by the company for quite a while. Each year we undergo this evaluation. In this year as well, likewise, we were evaluated, and for us this evaluation was done differently vis-a-vis previous years. Just by one example, KPIs amount up to only one chunk of your evaluation. Yes, it's the main part presently, but this part impacts directly the benefits of managers and so on. But see what else has been happening this year. I was tested. Next year it will be cascaded onto the level below me. All those managerial skills, HR metrics, engagement, personal values of the leader, top manager, and so on. And also what's important is your internal and external achievements and accomplishments, but that's optional yet. And actually, as to the external recognition of the team, it's not very developed yet. Yesterday, you might have heard during the awards that one winner, his bonus depends on whether, up to 30% depends on whether he'll win the contest or not. Briefly, these are KPIs. If you check them out, among those KPIs, corporate KPIs are very important. We're told that we are team members, we're all engaged in the same process, and you lawyers are part of it. We're going to evaluate you in a good way only when in the company would be feeling comfortable altogether. Of course, which makes us to use less frequently our veto right. Among those KPIs are incomes, revenues, and triggers. It's not enough to have a business profitability to get revenues and all that, but there is a trigger here. I will not disclose it, but unless that happens, all other things will not be important at all. There are some tailor-made individual tasks and assignments. Last year, I mentioned that we as business partners to the business try to create new opportunities for businesses, and for the first time last year, a new special KPI was assigned to me. Not on my initiative, by the way. This all entails the situation when the better you work, the more they demand from you. It's about creating good opportunities for business, which is expressed in values and figures, expressed numerically, and this evaluation depends on the way, on what score I would be assigned to by my internal clients. I formally am not engaged, I only received the answer. Our strategy is mitigation of risks at early stage or creation of good opportunities for the company. It's all fully reflected in those KPIs. There is also compliance. We broke many bones over this compliance. Previously, this compliance is also sitting in those KPIs. And this is indicative of the fact that this compliance is yet in the focus of attention. Now, new things for us. Now they evaluate us on dynamics on HR metrics. There are different systems. Many management consultants offer those instruments. They are around. Another thing is whether you are really actively using them in your company. We have been actively using them. The role of our HR department is very high. They try to take on board all those cutting-edge methods, not to direct business units, but also to us. And what do they expect from us? Economic active headcount of our division. Figures are not showed here, but you understand the trends. They expect from us to reduce the number of employees in each department, in each unit. We should gradually reduce it. They also look at the personnel turnover, how many people you have hired, how many people you've laid off or who quit. And also, where do those employees go? Or is this the same amount year in, year out? Or does it change the personnel turnover? This is the slide which shows the attention given by our company to our employees' engagement into all the company's processes. To what extent our employees feel like they're part of the company, to what extent they feel like it's their own company, how much they're satisfied with their work in this company, and how the satisfaction impacts their activity and engagement. I have identified several core parameters. First of all, what is employees' attitude towards company as their employer? How does the company manage talents? There are always talented people, and they take very close to their heart if they think they are unfairly treated. How well we develop personality, lawyers, or lawyers just only go in very mundane and routine chores, or does something interesting. Also important are all the issues related to wages and salaries, and such a criterion as the value of the employees. Employees themselves tell us what do they feel, whether the company they work in appreciates what they do or doesn't value them at all. Here you can see the indicators of the company, and those indicators for the company, this rectangle, and red show those bars, and red shows the legal department and their positions above or below the company's level, slightly above the average indicators for the company, mean that people like working with their managers because the managers value and appreciate those employees. And people like what they do. They like the chores they perform. They don't think they are mundane. Satisfaction with outcomes of their work is, in our department, is also higher than across the company. Efficiency management, you can see that these are very good indicators. On the whole, you can see that the general atmosphere and ambience which was created in our legal department, in-house department, is very healthy. If this atmosphere is unhealthy, anything you do, all the reforms will go down the drain. When you're being assessed as the top manager, as the leader, they look at your leadership styles. You're a leader, you're a team leader, but which styles do you use in your work? Here you can see 6 such styles: directive, authoritarian, non-authoritarian, friendly, instructive, mentorish. Those 3 indicators where you should have authoritative style, reference style, and mentorial. Authoritative, when a leader unites the employees around common goal, long-term perspective is kept in mind by him. A democratic style is when you create a cohesive team which values and welcomes any interesting idea. Mentorial, when a leader is engaged in professional development of his employees personally and inputs his own strengths and his own efforts into it. Apart from that, all this is conducted via questionnaires among the employees. It's you who are valued. It's not your superior who is evaluating you and making up his opinion about you. So presently, this top leader would like to get the feedback from employees below you. This is taken into account in your general overall evaluation. And also what's evaluated is the general organizational climate in the department. This is the way employees ideally see the situation, and below you can see the way employees see it in reality. And the border, this gap between this upper line and lower line, sometimes in some instances we see that lower line is very much below. That means that not everything is good there, because there is a far cry between people's expectations and the reality. But on the whole, this type of a gap is considered to be normal. It's considered to be not a very big disparity between what people would like to see in the company and what's there. And also the leader assesses himself. That's a very complex questionnaire, so there is no way of knowing which result you'll obtain. This is just for understanding of your boss, your leader, or for my understanding of those leaders below me who report to me. We can see the personal priorities, personal value, and personal characteristics of those leaders. Based on those characteristics evaluation, we might predict somehow their behavior, and by predicting that, we'll also try to adjust and correct this behavior. As to the risks of those personality traits, we try to mitigate them at early stage until the problem grows. That's for the awareness of the leaders. Also, there is the assessment which is called 8 rules of the leader. or it's also called 360 assessment. Degree assessment. Let's say we are evaluating the director of the department. We ask the opinion of directors of other departments which are part of this illegal department. How do they evaluate their peer? It's like a peer review. What do the subordinates think, and what do the leaders of the department from other business units, like support business units, or just business? So 8 rules of the leader, or 360-degree evaluation. Trust your team. Don't hesitate to say thank you. Delegate the tasks. What you've already made and done is better than the ideal, because lawyers are perfectionists. But it's better to have something done rather than just to conjure things done but never doing them. Tell people, but do not say whether it's good or bad. Do not inform them, so that next time it will not happen.
Keep client first, do whatever is needed to be done today. Maintain permanent contact with your clients. When taking a decision, think yourself as a beneficiary of this decision. So these are elementary truths, elementary principles that we apply to shape our behavior. We did not institutionalize this practice and this vision. It's a working formula. Our main concern is to avoid all possible criminal risks. Once we fail terminally. Therefore, our concern about the chief is our primary concern, is our priority. Special risks are involved when working in the periphery, in the federal regions outside capital cities. The chief or the head of the department simply should not be made into contact with any risk. We cannot afford it. And finally, once you criticize anything, you should suggest something instead. Then we would assess the performance of supervisor by his ability for creative atmosphere, creative output. These things are pretty much crossing over. They're complementary. A double checking. What is the outcome? The outcome is the size of bonuses paid to us. Now that we are perceived as part of decision-making, we can feel the difference. Before that, you would hardly feel the benefits or the bonuses that you are granted. But now that we are being evaluated in an integrated way, we feel justice has been done. We feel vindicated as a unit, and we feel that we are bearers of value, who are remunerated justly. Now, given these managerial skills, given the KPIs, the 2-level scale of assessment results in a bonus. Now, if you score well, you are eligible for a qualifier, which will translate into real salaries. People who get A pluses can expect to be remunerated much more than people who have simple A. This is a generator of motivation. If these staff are novices, they may be offered entry positions in other structural units. They will be eligible to additional training, to additional career pathways. Now there are people who don't want to be managers, they want to be experts. These people would be offered training positions. You don't want to be a manager, so be a trainer. And this is a very interesting proposition for them. Beyond and besides being an expert, a professional, they are respected and esteemed trainers. So this kind of evaluation allows us to manage internal careers. A is a very good staffer, just a notch smaller than A+. But this notch is a threshold for eligibility to so many bonuses and benefits. So this was just about all I had to say. Teamwork, internal motivation, aspects of respect, but those are more or less details. We have to figure out in every individual case how well do they fit a legal department. Compliance and that's all. I'm well beyond my limit. Спасибо. Thank you very much, sir. Now, to wind up.
Подводя итог нашей сессии, с этим микрофоном или с тем, вот, мы хотим, что мы хотели сказать сегодняшней
Now,
нашей
what
сессии?
would we like to summarize? By holding this seminar, what was our message, by the way? Ruslan. Oh, we are sailing on. All right. A lawyer is a very conservative profession, but still the steady winds of time move our ship forwards. We have to navigate these waters and improve our efficiency.
Yeah, I would say that the inevitability of change in legal departments, company legal departments, is a fact we're going to live with for the future.
Мы хотели сказать, что дорогу осилит идущий.
Our message was that you have to hit the road first and then think about getting there.
Yeah, I think I would agree. The change and the expectations of the law department and innovation and ways of working are the key change and driver that we need to follow. So, yep.
Ну да, уже сказали все.
Right, we had it all. We're growing more technologically capable, and we have to grow internally as professionals. All right, so we have summarized our workshop. Now let's skip the voting. We don't have time. I believe we know the answer in general, or let this intrigue go on.